From being produced by none other than Seth Rogen to Karen Fukuhara creating her own sign language for her role as Kimiko. These are behind-the-scenes secrets from The Boys that only the biggest fans know. If you're a die-hard fan of the series, then you're in for a treat, because the piping hot behind-the-scenes tease as interesting as the show itself. Did you know that the Smash series was produced by Seth Rogen? That's right, Seth produced one of the most beloved TV shows ever by collaborating with Garth Ennis. Now the show can get dark and twisted, but it's got a lot of humor too, and Seth's ability to balance the two is just spot on, only because he's got tons of experience as a comedian. For those who don't know, Seth's produced and written comedies like Superbad and This Is the End, which was a lifesaver in creating a show that's funny, gory, and action-packed. But he's not only the executive producer of the show, he's also made some cameos in press events as a VCU producer, like the time he did a hysterical promo for his first movie in the VCU, Black Noir Insurrection, right alongside his co-star, the original Black Noir. Even though the film never made it to the big screen, Seth got to be a part of the TV series itself when he started featuring in hilarious scenes around season 3, like the time we saw him having a video chat with the Crimson Countess, who now works as a cam girl on an adult website. And if that wasn't enough, he's even voiced a few segments on the Vought News Network specials. So it's safe to say that Seth's a real jack of all trades in the entertainment biz. But he isn't the only one calling the shots. One of the writers of the show, Eric Kripke's just as valuable. And he's the main reason The Boys is linked to another wildly popular show. It's true. Eric's the mastermind behind the long-running CW series Supernatural. And he's brought some super familiar faces to The Boys because of that connection. Like Jim Beaver, who played Bobby Singer on Supernatural, appeared on Season 2 of The Boys as a government official. Plus, Jensen, who now plays Soldier Boy on the show, also played Dean Winchester on Supernatural. Fans of the show have been buzzing around on the internet talking about which actor from Supernatural could make an appearance next, because they don't think the surprise cameos are about to end anytime soon. Speaking of the show's cast, did you know that some iconic roles from The Boys were almost played by other actors? We all know how Erin Moriarty absolutely killed it as Starlight in the show, but she wasn't the only one competing for the part. Breck Bassinger, the actor who played Stargirl, also auditioned for the role. While the two characters have some similarities, Starlight's a much more complex and morally ambiguous character compared to Stargirl's goody two-shoes vibe. Don't get me wrong, Breck's a stellar actress, and she nailed her role as Stargirl in a lighter, less brutal show. In the end, the final casting decision said Erin was the perfect choice for the role of Starlight. Here's another interesting casting tidbit for you. Huey's character was based on none other than Simon Pegg, who's known for his roles in Star Trek and other sci-fi favorites. But Pegg was a bit too old to play the part by the time cameras started rolling. So instead, he took on the role of Huey's dad, with Jack Quaid playing the younger version of the character. Even though he didn't get to play the character that was inspired by him, Pegg was still thrilled to be a part of The Boys because he was a big fan of the comics himself. Now, if you like the source material like Pegg, you'd know there are tons of differences between the comics and the show. For starters, Soldier Boy's actually multiple people in the comics, but we only got to see 2 of them, only because Soldier Boy's a title held by many superpowered men, and is passed on when the last one dies. Plus, unlike the series, none of Soldier Boy's versions in the comics are Homelander's father, and he can also rob others of their superpowers through his radiation blast, which is another major difference from the comics. And did you see what happened to Black Noir in The Boys? It was shocking for comic book fans when Homelander knocked him out the way he did, considering how strong he is in the comics. The showrunners also gave him a serious backstory, which he lacked in the comics because he was just this speechless, intimidating presence, and he didn't have much to show except his tree nut allergy. Now, believe it or not, Homelander in the comics is even worse than the one on the show, and he actually assaults both Starlight and Soldier Boy in the books. Yikes. Another major difference is that Homelander's son, Ryan, doesn't even exist in the comics. This means we never got to see Homelander's attempt at fatherhood, which gives the show's version of the character some vulnerability and depth he didn't have before. And while we're on the topic of twists from the show that you might not have been aware of, here's another one for you. Even though The Boys may be set in New York City, it's not even filmed in the United States at all, and the whole thing is actually shot in Toronto, Canada. Now, I know what you're thinking, but wait, how do they make it look like New York City? Well, that's where the magic of CGI comes in. The show's creators used computer-generated magic to transform Toronto into the Big Apple. But some of the buildings like the Vought Tower are somewhat real, because while the top part of the skyscraper's created with visual effects, the base is actually the Roy Thompson Concert Hall in Toronto. If you keep a close eye during some of the episodes, in some exterior shots of the tower at ground level, you can even see the entire concert hall in the frame. Now, even though they made it look a lot like the real thing, some fans of the show caught a few inconsistencies in the Vought building scenes. But one thing the VFX couldn't replace were the next-level stunts in the series, which they take very seriously on set. According to stunt coordinator John Koyama, it all comes down to research, development, and pre-visualization. They never compromise on an important emotional moment or storytelling beat, and it shows in the final product. For example, in the episode Harrigasm, Homelander trades his laser vision for a classic fistfight against Billy, Huey, and the newcomer Soldier Boy. This was a first for the series, and it took them 14 revisions to properly balance the characters' varying strengths and weave in Billy's compound vibe plotline, which required serious attention to detail. And let's not forget about the insane stunts from Season 3. That's when John really outdid himself with the wire stunts, especially the one where Starlight gets thrown across the room and crashes through a glass window. Fans thought the scene was seriously intense, but they were even more impressed by how the team pulled it off, without losing sight of the characters or the story. But that's not where the magic of the creative team ended, because they also supported Karen Fukuhara in the preparations for her performance as Kimiko, which was nothing less than amazing. Kimiko starts off as a bit of a mystery, being a wild soup, but gradually develops a close bond with Frenchie and the rest of the boys. Her past trauma has left her mute, which made communication a big challenge. But after the tragic death of her brother at the hands of Stormfront, Kimiko teaches Frenchie her own special sign language. What's really cool is that the sign language used by Kimiko was created specifically for the show, with tons of help from the team on set. Fukuhara worked closely with sign language coach Amanda Richer to develop the language and bring it to life on the silver screen. After the whole experience, Fukuhara talked about how signing is so powerful and how her work with Richer helped inform her approach to portraying Kimiko in Season 2. It's clear that a lot of incredible work by the cast and the crew behind the scenes made The Boys the beloved smash hit series that it is today. So there you have it, from Karen Fukuhara creating her own sign language for her role as Kimiko, to being produced by none other than Seth Rogen. Those were behind-the-scenes secrets from The Boys that only the biggest fans know.